The lone human exploration vessel HFY Pathfinder drifted to a stop at the edge of unexplored space. Captain Ju Kim stood on the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back as she stared at the view screen. The sight before them was unlike anything they had encountered in their 3 years of exploration. "That's a lot of ships," Lieutenant Park muttered from the tactical station, his fingers dancing across the console as he tried to count the vessels arrayed before them. Captain Kim nodded slowly, her expression carefully neutral despite the rapid beating of her heart. 7 distinct design patterns. We're looking at a coalition. The bridge fell silent as everyone processed this unexpected development. The Pathfinder was primarily a scientific vessel with minimal armaments, a sleek, elegant ship designed for exploration rather than confrontation. Now they faced what appeared to be hundreds of warships in a precise, intimidating formation. "Run a full scan, Lieutenant Park. Let's see what we're dealing with," Captain Kim ordered, her voice calm despite the tension filling the bridge. "Already on it, Captain," Park replied, his eyes fixed on his console. "Weapon systems are active on all vessels, but not locked onto us. Yet." Commander Do-Yun, a tall man with serious eyes, moved to stand beside his captain. "Recommended course of action?" he asked quietly. Before Kim could respond, Communications Officer Lee spoke up from her station. "Captain, they're hailing us. Audio and visual." Kim took a deep breath and straightened her navy blue uniform. On screen, Officer Lee. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a reptilian alien with iridescent scales that shimmered with blues and greens. Its multiple eyes, 4 in total, narrowed as it studied the humans. A translator device hummed quietly in the background. "You send only one ship?" the alien asked, its voice deep and resonant. "Where is your fleet?" Captain Kim blinked in surprise. "Fleet? We have no fleet. The HSS Pathfinder is an exploration vessel on a peaceful mission." The alien commander's scales shifted color slightly, displaying patterns that the humans couldn't interpret. "I am Kilor, commander of the Unified Defense Coalition. Your response is unexpected." "May I ask why you expected a fleet, Commander Kilor?" Kim asked carefully. Kilor's head tilted slightly. "Our intelligence indicates that humans always arrive in overwhelming numbers, prepared for conquest. This is how you secured your home system and your first colonies. Yet you appear with a single vessel." Its multiple eyes blinked in sequence. A curious strategy. Captain Kim exchanged confused glances with Commander Do-Yun. Earth had never pursued aggressive expansion policies. Their colonies had been established peacefully on uninhabited worlds, and the Pathfinder mission itself was purely exploratory. "There seems to be a serious misunderstanding," Kim said. "Humanity has no interest in conquest. We explore to learn and understand, not to claim or conquer." Science Officer Yunji stepped forward from her station. "Captain, if I may." At Kim's nod, she addressed the alien commander. "Our vessel contains primarily scientific equipment. We carry minimal defensive capabilities and no offensive weapons designed for ship-to-ship combat." Kalor's scales rippled with what might have been disbelief. "You will permit scans to verify this claim?" "Of course," Captain Kim agreed. "We have nothing to hide." The bridge crew waited tensely as the alien ships conducted their scans. Captain Kim used the time to observe the coalition fleet more carefully. The ships varied greatly in design. Some were angular and metallic, others appeared almost organic, with flowing lines and unusual propulsion systems. It truly was a gathering of different species united for a common purpose. "Scans confirm your vessel is as described," Keller finally announced. "This is perplexing. Our surveillance of human communications suggested your species was preparing for galactic conquest." "Perhaps there's been a misunderstanding," Captain Kim offered. "I propose a diplomatic meeting to clear up this confusion. I would be happy to explain our mission and learn more about the Unified Defense Coalition." The alien commander was silent for a long moment, its scales shifting through various color patterns as it apparently considered the offer. The bridge crew of the Pathfinder waited, hardly daring to breathe. "Very well," Keller finally agreed. "A small delegation may board my vessel. We will discuss this misunderstanding." "Thank you, Commander," Kim replied with a small bow of her head. "We appreciate this opportunity for peaceful dialogue." After the communication ended, the bridge erupted in hushed conversations. "Captain, is this wise?" Commander Doyan asked quietly. "We know nothing about these aliens. This could be a trap." Kim turned to face her crew. "What we do know is that they believe humanity is a threat. They'd formed a coalition specifically to defend against us, based on some kind of intelligence that's completely wrong. If we run now, we confirm their fears. This might be our only chance to prevent a war before it starts." "I'll prepare the shuttle," Commander Doyan said, recognizing the determination in his captain's eyes. "I'll need a small team. Commander Doyan, Science Officer Yunji, and Communications Officer Lee, you're with me," Captain Kim decided. As they prepared to depart, Lieutenant Park caught the captain's arm. "The sensors picked up something strange during their scan of us, Captain. For a moment, it seemed like they were focusing intensely on our communications array." "Noted, Lieutenant. Keep the ship at yellow alert while we're gone. If anything happens, your primary objective is to get back to Earth with this information." Kim's expression was serious. "But let's hope it doesn't come to that." The small shuttle detached from the Pathfinder and moved slowly toward the massive alien flagship at the center of the blockade. Inside, Captain Kim and her team prepared themselves for first contact with a coalition that had been expecting a war. "Whatever happens," Kim told her team quietly, "remember that we represent not just the Pathfinder, but all of humanity. Our actions here may determine the future of human-alien relations for generations to come." As their shuttle approached the enormous alien vessel, they could see the intricate patterns etched into its hull, telling stories they couldn't yet understand. The docking bay doors opened like the mouth of some great space beast, ready to swallow them whole. "Well," Captain Kim said with a small smile, "let's go make some friends." Captain Kim moved cautiously through the massive doorway of the alien flagship, feeling the weight of every step. Behind her walked her small team: Science Officer Yunji, Security Chief Taewoo, and Xenolinguist Minji. The corridor stretched before them, impossibly long and lined with warriors from species humans had never encountered before. Some stood on 2 legs, others on 4, and a few seemed to hover above the ground entirely. Their armor gleamed under the blue-tinted lights, weapons clearly visible but not drawn. The message was clear: "We are ready if you try anything." "Stay close," Captain Kim murmured to her team. "Remember, we're here to prevent a war, not start one." Taewoo nodded stiffly, his hand never straying far from his side where a simple stunner, their only weapon, was holstered. As security chief, he had protested bringing even this minimal protection, arguing that appearing completely unarmed would show better faith. Captain Kim had overruled him. Some basic protection was prudent. Their alien escort, a tall being with silver skin that reflected the corridor lights like a walking mirror, stopped before an enormous circular door. The door slid open silently, revealing a vast chamber beyond. "The council awaits you," the escort announced, gesturing them inside. The conference chamber was circular, with a round table at its center. Already seated were 7 distinct aliens, each apparently representing one of the coalition species. Captain Kim recognized Kalor immediately, his iridescent scales shimmering under the chamber lights. The humans were directed to seats on one side of the table. Captain Kim noted that their chairs were lower than the others, forcing them to look up at the aliens, a clear psychological tactic. "Welcome aboard the Sentinel," Keller said, his multiple eyes focusing on each human in turn. "This is the first time humans have entered our space peacefully, according to our records. We appreciate the opportunity for dialogue," Captain Kim replied evenly. "There seems to be a significant misunderstanding about human intentions that we hope to clear up." A low rumble came from a massive, bear-like creature covered in blue fur. The translator on the table converted it to words. Misunderstanding. Your intentions are clear enough. Kalor raised a scaled hand. We have monitored your transmissions for decades. Your species prepares for war across the stars. Minji's eyes widened as the translation came through. She leaned close to Captain Kim and whispered urgently, "Captain, I think I understand. They've been receiving our entertainment broadcasts. Movies, television, games." Yunji nodded in agreement. They've misinterpreted fiction as documentary evidence. The bulbous alien with tentacle-like appendages that sat opposite them pulsed slightly, its skin changing color from green to orange. Your military exercises, your technological development patterns, all point to preparation for galactic conquest. We have analyzed thousands of your transmissions. May I ask which transmissions specifically? Captain Kim asked carefully. The aliens exchanged glances. A holographic display appeared in the center of the table, showing clips of what the humans immediately recognize as science fiction programs. Scenes from popular space operas, movies about alien invasions, and military science fiction shows played one after another. Here you plot the conquest of multiple star systems, said a crystalline being, pointing to a clip from a fictional strategic space game championship. And here, your leaders discuss the annihilation of alien species. The screen showed a scene from a blockbuster film where actors portrayed military generals planning to fight an invading force. Captain Kim couldn't help but smile slightly, quickly hiding it when she saw the aliens' reactions. I understand the confusion now. What you're seeing are works of fiction, entertainment for our people. These aren't real events or plans. Entertainment. Kalor's scales darkened. You find joy in the thought of war and conquest. Not exactly, Yunji interjected. Humans use storytelling to explore ideas, fears, and possibilities. Many of our stories involve conflict because it creates drama, but they don't reflect our actual intentions or policies. Minji nodded eagerly. It would be like judging your species based only on your ancient myths or children's stories. A small, delicate alien with gossamer wings fluttered slightly. What of your actual military capabilities? Our analysis shows rapid advancement in propulsion, energy weapons, and shield technology. Those technologies have multiple applications, Captain Kim explained. Faster propulsion helps us explore further. Energy technology powers our cities. Shields protect against natural hazards in space. A convenient explanation, said Kalor, his tone flat. Or a clever deception. The distrust in the room was palpable. Captain Kim could feel the weight of 7 different species' suspicion bearing down on her team. If we wanted to conquer, why would we come with one lightly armed vessel? She asked simply. The Pathfinder is an exploration ship. We came seeking knowledge, not territory. The bear-like alien growled something, and the translator converted it. Perhaps you are scouts for the main invasion force. That's not how we operate. Security Chief Taewoo spoke up for the first time. I've served in Earth's defense forces for 15 years before joining the Pathfinder mission. If we were planning an invasion, we would have sent probes first, not living crew members. And our databases are open for your inspection, Captain Kim added. We have nothing to hide. The alien representatives conferred among themselves in their own languages, the translators unable to keep up with their rapid exchanges. Finally, Kalor turned back to the humans. We will examine your ship's databases more thoroughly. But one question remains unanswered. If you are peaceful explorers, why do so many of your fictional stories center around conflict with other species? What does this reveal about your true nature? It was a profound question that made even Captain Kim pause. How could she explain humanity's complex relationship with its own fears and hopes? Our stories reveal that we can imagine both the best and worst of possibilities, she said carefully. We create fictional conflicts partly to ensure they remain fictional, to work through our fears rather than act on them. Minji added, many of our stories also end with understanding and peace between different species. They teach us to recognize our common bonds despite outward differences. "Show us these stories of peace," demanded the crystalline being. Yunji activated her datapad. "I can access our cultural database and show you examples spanning centuries of human literature and film." As she began to display clips from stories showing peaceful first contact and cooperation between fictional species, Captain Kim noticed a subtle shift in the room's atmosphere. The aliens were watching intently, their postures slightly less rigid. "What you truly need to understand," Captain Kim said quietly, "is that humans are explorers by nature. We're driven by curiosity, not conquest. What you've seen is human imagination, not intention. We explore in small numbers first, learning before expanding." The bulbous alien's tentacles twisted skeptically. "Perhaps this is true. Perhaps not. Words are easy to craft. Then judge us by our actions," Captain Kim proposed. "The Pathfinder has visited 17 star systems before yours. In each one, we observed, learned, and departed without claiming territory or resources. Our mission logs will confirm this." As the meeting continued, Captain Kim sensed they had made some progress, but the wall of distrust remained firmly in place. This misunderstanding had been years in the making, and it wouldn't be resolved in a single conversation. What they needed was a chance to prove their peaceful intentions through actions, not just words. But as she looked around at the still suspicious faces of the alien council, she wondered if they would get that chance before someone's fear triggered a conflict that neither side truly wanted. The negotiations had been tense but promising when a violent shudder ran through the alien flagship, throwing everyone off balance. Captain Kim grabbed the edge of the table to steady herself as the alien representatives rose in alarm. Warning lights flashed across the chamber's walls, and a high-pitched alarm began to sound. "What's happening?" she demanded, looking directly at Kilor. Before the reptilian commander could respond, Captain Kim's communicator crackled to life. "Captain." Commander Do-Yun's urgent voice came through clearly despite the distortion. "A faction of the alien coalition is attacking the Pathfinder." The central holographic display that had been showing cultural exchanges now switched to a tactical view of space outside. Kim's breath caught as she saw 3 coalition warships surrounding the Pathfinder, firing energy weapons that lit up the darkness of space. "Explain this," she demanded, turning to Kelor with fire in her eyes. The alien commander's scales had turned a deep blue. "This is not by my order," he said, his multiple eyes blinking rapidly. "The Solari faction has always been the most aggressive among us." On the screen, the Pathfinder executed a tight spiral maneuver, narrowly avoiding a concentrated beam that would have cut through its hull. The human vessel then dove beneath one of the attacking ships, using the attacker's bulk as a shield against the others. "Your ship should have been destroyed instantly," Kaylor said, watching with apparent fascination. Several other alien representatives were also staring at the display with what seemed like surprise. "Our pilot Juno is the best in the fleet," Captain Kim replied calmly, though her heart raced as she watched her ship and crew fighting for their lives. "And our engineer Hyunwoo modified our shields specifically for exploration in unknown conditions." "Impressive," murmured the crystalline being. "Most impressive." Another explosion rocked the vicinity as the Pathfinder narrowly avoided collision with one of the attacking vessels. The human ship spun on its axis, using its thrusters to slide sideways in a maneuver that seemed to defy the laws of physics. "Captain, we can't keep this up forever." Do-Yun's voice came through again. "Shields at 68% and dropping. Hyunwoo is rerouting power, but we're taking hits." Kim's mind raced through options. The Pathfinder carried only defensive weapons, point defense systems designed to destroy asteroids and space debris, not to engage other ships. They were hopelessly outgunned. "Order your vessel to return fire," suggested Kilor, his voice surprisingly gentle. It would be justified under these circumstances. All eyes in the room turned to Captain Kim. She understood what this moment meant, how her response would shape these aliens' perception of humanity for generations to come. "No," Captain Kim said firmly, standing tall despite being physically smaller than every alien in the room. We won't escalate this. The Pathfinder will continue evasive maneuvers but will not fire upon your ships. She turned to face Kaylor directly. I trust you to help end this attack, Commander Kaylor. Show us that the Coalition values peace as much as we do. For 3 long seconds, Kaylor stared at her, his alien features unreadable to human eyes. Then he moved to a console on the wall and began issuing rapid commands in his native language. On the screen, 2 larger Coalition ships moved to position themselves between the Pathfinder and its attackers. Kaylor's voice boomed through the communications system, the translator rendering his words into multiple languages simultaneously. This is Commander Kaylor of the Unified Defense Coalition. Stand down immediately. The human vessel is under my protection by authority of the Council. The attacking ships hesitated, continuing to circle, but no longer firing. The humans have submitted to inspection and have agreed to share their databases, Kaylor continued. This attack is unauthorized and violates Coalition protocols. Stand down now or face disciplinary action. Slowly, reluctantly, the attacking ships powered down their weapon systems. One by one, they turned away from the Pathfinder and rejoined the main fleet formation. Captain Kim exhaled slowly, her shoulders relaxing slightly. Thank you, Commander. Kaylor's scales shifted to a more neutral color. Do not thank me yet, Captain. The Solari will demand answers, as will others. This incident has complicated matters. Commander Doyan, status report. Kim said it into her communicator. Shields holding at 52%, minor damage to the outer hull. No casualties, came the reply. Chunho sends his regards and asks if you enjoyed the show. Despite the tension, Kim allowed herself a small smile. Tell him his flying was exemplary. Maintain current position and continue repairs. We'll continue our discussions here. The bear-like alien growled something that the translator converted as, "Why did your ship not fight back?" It had opportunities to target engines or weapon systems of the attackers. Because that's not why we're here, Captain Kim answered simply. We came to explore and understand, not to fight. Even when attacked, asked the bulbous alien, its tentacles waving in what might have been confusion. Especially when attacked, Yunji interjected. Anyone can respond to violence with more violence. It takes strength to choose a different path. Security Chief Taewoo nodded in agreement. Our mission parameters are clear. We avoid conflict whenever possible. The gossamer winged alien fluttered closer to the humans. Your restraint is unexpected. The Solari believe your ship would reveal its true nature under threat, that hidden weapons would emerge. The only thing that emerged was our skill at evasive maneuvers, Minji said with a touch of pride. Kaylor returned to his seat, his posture noticeably less rigid than before. The Solari faction has been contained, but this incident will have repercussions throughout the Coalition. Some will see your restraint as evidence of your peaceful nature. Others will view it as a clever tactic, sacrificing one ship to gain our trust before your main fleet arrives. Captain Kim met his gaze steadily. There is no main fleet, Commander. Just us. So you claim, said the crystalline being. Yet your single vessel withstood an attack from 3 of our warships without returning fire. This suggests either remarkable technology or remarkable restraint. Both are concerning in their own ways. The room fell into an uneasy silence. The attack had changed the dynamic of the negotiations, but Captain Kim couldn't yet tell if it was for better or worse. Trust had been damaged, certainly, but so had the Coalition's certainty about human aggression. Perhaps, Captain Kim said carefully, this incident offers us an opportunity. You've seen that we choose peace even when attacked. Now let us show you why we explore, what we hope to learn, and how we might work together rather than against each other. She gestured to Yunji, who activated her datapad. With your permission, I'd like to share our scientific findings from previous explorations, discoveries that might benefit all our peoples. As Yunji began displaying star charts and scientific data, Captain Kim watched the alien representatives closely. Their body language was still guarded, their trust not yet earned. but they were listening. And for now, that would have to be enough. The crisis had been averted, but Captain Kim knew that the real challenge was just beginning. Somehow, she needed to convince these aliens that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its weapons or ships, but in its endless curiosity and desire to understand the universe, one peaceful encounter at a time. The central command room of the Sentinel had fallen into an uncomfortable silence. Hours had passed since the attack, and though the immediate crisis had ended, the tension remained. Captain Kim stood before the 7 alien representatives, acutely aware that despite her explanations, suspicion still clouded their judgment. "You still believe we're preparing an invasion," Captain Kim said, noting how the alien coalition leaders eyed her suspiciously. She took a deep breath and made a decision that Commander Do-hyun would likely disagree with. "So I offer you complete access to our ship's database and technology." The aliens exchanged glances of disbelief. Kellor's scales shimmered with a pattern the humans hadn't seen before. "Complete access," the crystalline being named Verith asked, its faceted body refracting light as it shifted position. "You would allow us to examine your systems directly?" "Yes," Captain Kim confirmed. "I propose that a delegation from your coalition visits the Pathfinder. See for yourselves what our mission truly entails." Kellor conferred briefly with the other representatives. This could be a trap, the bear-like alien growled, or an unprecedented opportunity, countered the gossamer-winged delegate. "You may bring security personnel and whatever scanning equipment you deem necessary," Captain Kim offered. "We have nothing to hide." After much debate, the coalition agreed to send a small delegation representing 3 of their species. Preparations were made, and soon Captain Kim found herself leading the alien visitors through the Pathfinder's airlock. Commander Do-hyun waited to greet them, his expression carefully neutral despite his obvious concerns about letting potential enemies onto their ship. "Welcome aboard the HSS Pathfinder," he said formally. "We've prepared access terminals throughout the ship for your inspection." Science Officer Yoonji stepped forward. "I'll be your guide. Where would you like to begin?" Verith, the crystalline being, hummed softly. "Your weapons systems." Yoonji smiled. "That won't take long. This way, please." She led them to a small control room where Lieutenant Park stood at attention. "This is our defensive station," Yoonji explained. "We carry point defense lasers designed to vaporize small asteroids and space debris, plus 2 electromagnetic pulse generators that can temporarily disable simple electronic systems at close range." The aliens conducted thorough scans, looking increasingly confused as they found exactly what the humans had described: minimal defensive capabilities and no ship-to-ship weapons. "But your vessel survived a direct attack," said the bulbous alien with tentacles, whom they now knew as Moro. "How is this possible?" Engineer Hyunwoo looked up from the console where he was working. His face showed signs of the radiation exposure he had suffered during the attack, but he smiled proudly. "Adaptive shielding," he explained. "We designed it to protect against unknown space phenomena during exploration. It analyzes incoming energy signatures and reconfigures to maximize protection." "May I see the specifications?" asked Verith. "Of course," Hanmu replied, bringing up detailed schematics on his screen. "The key innovation is this modulation matrix here. It allows the shields to learn from each hit they take." As the tour continued, the aliens' questions became less suspicious and more curious. In the science lab, Yoonji demonstrated the ship's research capabilities. "Your technology focuses on adaptation rather than weapons," noted Verith, examining a handheld atmospheric analyzer. "Precisely," Yoonji confirmed. "This atmospheric processor, it's designed to help terraform barren planets. We've used it to restore environments damaged by natural disasters." She guided them to another section. "This is our botanical bay, where we study and preserve plant species from different worlds. And here," she said, activating a large holographic display, "is our database of all discoveries made during our mission." The aliens were particularly fascinated by the medical bay, where Dr. Sunho showed them regenerative technologies and universal diagnostic tools. This cellular regenerator could help with the degenerative condition affecting the Solari's bone structures. Dr. Sunho explained, not realizing the impact of his words until he saw the aliens exchange meaningful glances. "You have a cure for the bone waste?" asked Moro, tentacles quivering. "Not exactly a cure," Dr. Sunho clarified, "but our techniques could significantly slow its progression while the body heals naturally." As the day progressed, the aliens discovered solutions to problems that had plagued their own worlds for generations: sustainable energy systems, advanced medical techniques, and environmental restoration technology. Their questions became more engaged, less confrontational. Captain Kim observed this transformation with quiet satisfaction. This was why they explored, not to conquer, but to learn and share knowledge. While the delegation examined the ship's botanical research, Lieutenant Park approached Captain Kim urgently. "Captain, our long-range sensors have detected something unusual. A stellar anomaly approximately 2 light hours from our position." Kim followed him to the bridge, where a holographic display showed a swirling mass of energy forming near a small star. "Analysis. It appears to be a type of spatial distortion," Park explained, "growing rapidly. At its current rate of expansion, it could threaten this entire sector within days." The alien delegation had followed them to the bridge, watching with interest as the humans worked. "May I?" Verith asked, approaching the sensor display. After examining the data, the crystalline being turned to its companions. "This is concerning. The anomaly is on a direct path toward the Moros colony in the Thelis system." Captain Kim studied the projection models. "And if it continues expanding, it will eventually reach human space as well. It threatens both our territories," she observed thoughtfully. After a moment's consideration, she turned to face the aliens. "I propose a joint mission. The Pathfinder has extensive scientific equipment that could help study this phenomenon, and your coalition vessels have greater defensive capabilities should things turn dangerous." The aliens conferred among themselves, their earlier suspicion now tempered by what they had seen aboard the Pathfinder. "You would share your findings?" asked Kalor, who had joined the delegation via holographic projection from the Sentinel. "Of course," Kim replied. "This affects all of us. And if your mysterious fleet arrives during this mission?" Kalor pressed. Captain Kim smiled slightly. "Commander Kalor, by now you've had full access to our communication logs. You know we've sent no messages calling for reinforcements. There is no fleet." The alien representatives exchanged looks once more. Verith's crystalline body glinted as it turned to face the captain. "We will need to consult with the full council." "Understood," Kim nodded. "But I suggest we don't delay too long. That anomaly isn't waiting for our decision." Hours later, the answer came. Still expecting human reinforcements to arrive at any moment, the coalition cautiously agreed to a joint mission. The Pathfinder would lead the scientific investigation, accompanied by 3 coalition vessels for protection, and, Kim suspected, to keep watch for any sign of the non-existent human fleet. As preparations began, Engineer Hyunwoo approached Captain Kim privately. "Captain, if this anomaly is what I think it is, we're going to need some serious modifications to our shields. I have some ideas, but they're untested." "How dangerous?" Kim asked directly. Hyunwoo's expression was grave. "For the ship, minimal risk. For the person manually calibrating the shield matrix during exposure, significant." Captain Kim nodded slowly. "Draft your plans, Hyunwoo. Let's hope we don't need them." As the Pathfinder prepared to depart alongside its new alien escorts, Captain Kim couldn't help but feel they were heading toward something far more dangerous than a mere spatial anomaly. They had begun to build trust, but that trust remained fragile, as unpredictable as the swirling energy mass that awaited them. The small fleet of ships approached the swirling vortex cautiously. At the center, the Pathfinder moved steadily forward, flanked by 3 alien vessels that dwarfed it in size. From the bridge, Captain Kim watched as the anomaly grew visibly larger even as they approached. Sensor readings confirm our initial analysis, Science Officer Yunji reported, her eyes fixed on her console. It's not just a spatial distortion. We're detecting temporal energy signatures as well. A time rift? Captain Kim asked. In simple terms, yes, Yunji nodded. And it's expanding faster than predicted. At this rate, it will reach the nearest inhabited systems within 36 hours. The communication screen flickered to life, showing Verith's crystalline face. Our scientists have reached the same conclusion, Captain Kim. This temporal rift is unprecedented in our records. Ours as well, Kim acknowledged. But we theorize about such phenomena. Yunji, show them our temporal stability protocols. As Yunji transmitted the data, the coalition scientists responded with excitement. For the next several hours, human and alien minds worked together, building on each other's knowledge to develop a containment strategy. We need to create a resonance field around the rift, Yunji explained to the combined scientific team. If we can match its temporal frequency and then gradually shift it, we might be able to fold the rift back on itself. Verith's crystalline body glittered as it processed the information. Our vessels can generate the field strength required, but we lack the precise calibration capabilities. The Pathfinder can handle that part, Engineer Hyunwoo interjected. Our shield modulators can be repurposed to create the necessary frequency patterns. Captain Kim listened to the technical discussion with pride. Just days ago, these species had been preparing for war. Now they work together, facing a common threat with combined knowledge. As the scientific team finalized their plan, the bridge crew prepared for implementation. The coalition vessels would position themselves in a triangle formation around the rift, generating a powerful energy field. The Pathfinder would sit at the point closest to the rift, using its advanced modulators to shape and direct the field. All ships in position, Lieutenant Park announced. Begin energy field generation, Captain Kim ordered. The space around them hummed with power as the alien vessels activated their massive generators. On the Pathfinder, Hyunwoo monitored the incoming energy carefully, making minute adjustments to the shield modulators. Field stability at 87%, he reported. Beginning frequency calibration. The rift responded almost immediately, its wild spinning slowing as the energy field wrapped around it. For a moment, it seemed their plan would succeed easily, until a violent pulse erupted from the rift's center, sending a shockwave through the ships. Field destabilizing. Yunji shouted over the alarm klaxons. The rift is fighting back. On the main screen, they could see one of the alien vessels drifting out of position, its systems temporarily overloaded by the pulse. The remaining ships struggled to maintain the field, but gaps were forming. We need to strengthen the modulation pattern, Hyunwoo said urgently. But the primary stabilizer can't handle the power surge we're seeing. Captain Kim understood the implications immediately. Is there another way? Hyunwoo hesitated just a moment. Yes, manual calibration directly from the core chamber, but the radiation exposure would be. He didn't finish the sentence. Find another solution, Kim ordered. But as the rift pulsed again, more violently this time, Hyunwoo made his decision. There isn't time, Captain, he said quietly, and before anyone could stop him, he rushed from the bridge. Hyunwoo. Kim called after him, but it was too late. Commander Do-Yun's voice came urgently over the comm. Captain, he's sealed himself in the core chamber. He's bypassing the safety protocols. On the screen, they could see Hyunwoo through the chamber's monitoring system. His hands moved quickly across the manual controls, making adjustments that the automated systems couldn't perform. Modulation pattern stabilizing, Yunji reported, her voice thick with emotion. The field is strengthening. The rift's expansion is slowing. For 10 crucial minutes, Hyunwoo worked inside the radiation-flooded chamber, making constant adjustments as the ships outside maintained their positions. His movements gradually became slower, but his focus never wavered. It's working. Verith's voice came over the communication system. The rift is collapsing inward. With a final, massive surge of energy that rocked all the ships, the temporal rift folded in on itself and disappeared, leaving only normal space behind. "Get a medical team to the core chamber now," Captain Kim ordered, already running toward the elevator. They found Hyunwoo slumped against the control panel, radiation burns visible on his exposed skin. The medical team rushed him to the infirmary where Dr. Sunho immediately began treatment. "He'll live," Dr. Sunho told Captain Kim hours later, "but he'll need specialized care to fully recover." To everyone's surprise, the Coalition vessels offered their most advanced medical facilities. "Our regenerative technologies are more suited to radiation poisoning," Verith explained. "We would be honored to help him." On the Sentinel, now serving as a medical facility, Kaylor visited Captain Kim as she sat beside Hyunwoo's healing chamber. "Why would he risk himself for aliens who were ready to destroy you?" Kaylor asked, genuinely puzzled. "Your engineer had no obligation to save our colonies." Captain Kim looked up at the reptilian commander. "Because that's what humans do," she replied simply. "We adapt, we create, and we cooperate. That's our strength, not overwhelming force." Kaylor's scales shifted through several colors before settling on a deep, rich gold. "I am beginning to understand. Your species is not what we expected." Over the next several days, as Hyunwoo slowly recovered, the Coalition leaders met repeatedly with the Pathfinder's crew. They shared technology, scientific discoveries, and cultural information. The aliens were particularly fascinated by Earth's biodiversity and artistic traditions, while the humans marveled at the Coalition's architectural achievements and philosophical systems. In a formal ceremony held aboard the Sentinel, Kaylor stood before representatives of all 7 Coalition species and the Pathfinder's crew. "We have misjudged your species," Kaylor acknowledged formally. "What we interpreted as preparation for war was simply your unique way of exploring the universe. We propose an alliance between our civilizations, one based on mutual learning and cooperation." Captain Kim stepped forward to accept. "On behalf of Earth and all humans, we welcome this alliance. May it be the first of many bridges between our peoples." Later, in the privacy of the Pathfinder's communication room, Captain Kim transmitted the good news to Earth, alongside an invitation for the aliens to visit. She couldn't help smiling as she imagined the reaction back home. One small exploration vessel had accomplished what a fleet never could. As Hyunwoo recovered enough to return to the Pathfinder, final preparations were made for departure. The ship would return to Earth, but not alone. 3 Coalition vessels would accompany them, part diplomatic mission, part honor guard. "Are the repairs complete?" Captain Kim asked as she made a final inspection of the bridge. "Yes, Captain," Lieutenant Park replied. "The Coalition engineers were incredibly helpful. They've even upgraded some of our systems as a gesture of goodwill. And our course is set for Earth." Commander Do-Yun nodded. "Estimated arrival in 6 weeks, accounting for the planned cultural exchange stops along the way." Captain Kim took her seat in the command chair, looking out at the stars and the massive alien vessels now positioned as protectors rather than threats. "Signal our escorts that we're ready to depart," she ordered. As the Pathfinder engaged its engines and began the journey home, Captain Kim reflected on how completely their mission had transformed. They had set out to explore unknown space and had instead found new allies. The Coalition had prepared for a human invasion fleet, but in the end, one ship was all it took, not for conquest, but for understanding. "Captain," Communications Officer Lee called out, "we're receiving a message from the Sentinel." On the screen, Kaylor appeared, his scales now a peaceful blue. "Safe journey, friends. We will follow your path among the stars." The Pathfinder moved gracefully through space, no longer alone but escorted by former adversaries who had waited for a fleet that never existed, and had found something far more valuable instead. The end.